fact, the Edmonton Oilers are about to sign Trent Frederic to an 8-year contract. Just tonight, reports started coming out that Frederic was about to sign an 8-year contract with an AAV, average annual value, of $4 million per season. This from Frank Saravalli is probably a little more relieving, I guess, to Oilers fans. Don't expect the Oilers to announce a deal in the near future as they're engaging in talks with other current roster players. But, as has been speculated, expect Trent Frederic's next deal to come in at 8 years and north of $3.5 million, but south of $4 million in AAV. So, okay, well that's less. At the time I'm shooting this video, we don't know the exact AAV, but if we're reading the tea leaves here, north of 3.5 million, south of 4 million per season, well, 8 years times 3.75 would be a clean $30 million bucks. So I'm going to assume it's 3.75, and once it comes out, we can adjust a little bit up or down. Listen, the initial reaction that I'm seeing to this move is that Edmonton Oilers fans absolutely hate, and I mean hate, this deal. That is a lot of money for a guy who was on your third line in a lot of playoff games, probably should have been on your fourth, and let's just be honest, didn't play very well. He played one game in the regular season with the Edmonton Oilers, and shouldn't have, and was a -2. More importantly, this playoff performer type player had 1 goal and 3 assists for 4 points in 22 playoff games for the Oilers. Now that sucks, but it also stinks. Here's what I would say though. I have a way rosier outlook on this, and I think Oilers fans should too, but I don't blame you for not having this. Trent Frederic had an awful year, a miserable year. 8 goals and 7 assists for just 15 points in 57 games, with the very, very, very unlucky and not good Boston Bruins, and then the 1 game with the Oilers. But, as was pretty well documented, Frederic was injured during the season, and he probably played through some nasty stuff during the playoffs as well, even though he was still in the lineup. I always say this when it comes to especially established NHL veterans, and Trent Frederic's been in the league for a while now. Good players don't forget how to play hockey. He's been in the NHL since the 2018-19 season, and he's played well over 300 games. Trent Frederic is a veteran. Well, okay, so he was hurt this past season. What does a healthy season of Trent Frederic look like? Well, luckily, if you go back to last season, you know. Last season with the Boston Bruins, Trent Frederic had 18 goals, 22 assists, 40 points in a fully healthy 82-game season. And in the playoffs, in 13 games, 3 goals, 2 assists, 5 points. I think the wildest thing about Frederic's 40-point season is that he had a career-high 69 penalty minutes, which is nice, but also not all that high for a player like Trent Frederic. We'll get back to that in a minute. Okay, so that's his career high. Well, what was he the year before? Okay, not as good, granted, but he had 17 goals, only down 1 from his career high of 18, and he ended up at 31 points in 79 games. Just 57 penalty minutes. Why does a guy who's 6'3", 221 pounds, and has a reputation of being one tough nut in the NHL, why does that guy not have all that many penalty minutes? My theory? It's 2025 and not a lot of people want to open that door. Listen, should Trent Frederic have been a first-round pick, 29th overall in 2016? I'm not sure. He was picked ahead of Sam Steele, a few picks later, Jordan Kyrou. That's a tough one. A few picks later, Alex DeBrincat. But man, as a Boston Bruin and as a Leaf fan, I am unfortunately very familiar with this player. And for years, I've been saying Trent Frederic is a Boston Bruin that they built in a lab to be a Boston Bruin. The lab just happens to be in St. Louis, Missouri, where he's from. But there's a clip from his rookie or sophomore season where he's mic'd up. He skates his bag off into someone. The collision is gruesome sounding, and while the guy who he hit is laying in a crumpled heap on the ice, he looks up at that guy's bench and all his teammates and just goes, "Who wants it?" before joining the play. And I thought what a lot of hockey fans thought, oh, what a nail gun. Now, being a nail gun's great, but you gotta play a shift. The Florida Panthers, incredibly tough team, they can play a shift. They're one of the deepest teams we've ever seen, in recent memory anyway. Well, 4 goals, 5 points in 42 games. Uh-oh, maybe this kid doesn't have it. 8 goals, 18 points in 60 games. And it wasn't until the 22-23 season where Frederic hit 17 goals, 31 points. The next season, 18 goals, 40 points. For a guy Frederic's size, which again is over 220 pounds, 6'3", absolute nail gun. With the cap shooting up as quickly as it is, 17, 18 goals, in the neighborhood of 15, 20, in the neighborhood of 30, 40 points, 3.75 for the next 8 years, I don't think that's going to be bad. Dom Lucian from The Athletic seemed to be thinking along those lines too. Here's what he said. Oilers likely extending Trent Frederic somewhere between 3.5 and 4 million for 8 years. Looks like too much and too long for what Frederic looked like this past season. If the assumption is that Frederic can bounce back to what he was in 23-24 after an injury-plagued season, the bet makes a bit more sense. But it's still odd that the Oilers didn't get a deal on AAV or term here. Now, that's true. I guess my question is, what's the rush? Dude, you need to offer Evan Bouchard a contract. You, on July 1st, should probably start talking extension with Connor McDavid. And here we are the day after the Stanley Cup final. You lock up Trent Frederic to 8 years? And he's actually older than I thought, too. He's 27? When did that happen? So wait a second. That deal is going to take him until he's 35? Ooh, okay. Now, the comparison that I'm seeing out there is Pierre Engvall, who Lou Lamoriello famously signed to a 7-year deal at $3 million per. Pierre Engvall, as, again, a former Leaf, so I'm acquainted, was not able to establish what he was in the NHL. What's your thing? Do you score goals? Are you particularly defensively responsible? Are you, oh, Pierre, you're over 220 pounds, you're 6'5", you must be so tough and so fierce to play against. Buddy, if you tried to take his gloves off, it would tear skin from bone. Frederic has a thing. I run through people for a living, and I'll score the occasional goal for you. Same thing with Engvall. The assumption going forward, okay, well, if you can chip in around 15 goals, around 30, 40 points, that deal is going to age great. But you have to get back to that, and so does Frederic. If Frederic is what he was this past season, this deal is nothing shy of a disaster. But the Oilers, their management, and their medical staff are making an educated guess that Trent Frederic is going to be worth this money. Listen, we perform miracles medically. I'm willing to bet he's going to be fine after whatever's been ailing him. And I'm willing to bet that Frederic is closer to the player that he was for back-to-back seasons when he had 17 and 18 goals than what he was this past season. But it's a big old risk. Not to mention this from Big Head Hockey. Oilers giving Trent Frederic, did I say Trent? Trent Frederic, $4 million times 8 years. That leaves them with about $8 million in cap space. Contracts that they'll need to sign: Evan Bouchard, $10 million, Evander Kane, Connor Brown, Jeff Skinner, Corey Perry, Kasperi Kapanen, John Klingberg. How the hell is this team supposed to improve? Now, I'll say there's a lot of guesswork in there. Number one, we don't know the cap hit 100%. And number two, you're just assuming what Evan Bouchard's contract is. It might be less than that. It might be more. To me, the Frederic contract, the more I think about it, the less surprising it is. What is surprising to me is now. Why now? I mean, I guess you can get it out of the way, and whatever you need to do, you're going to do it. It's not like you're going to let someone offer sheet if Evan Bouchard. But I think what the Oilers are signaling to us, they're about to have a very busy offseason. Remember the timeline with Stan Bowman here. GMs like to look around for a little bit, and the Oilers just went to the Stanley Cup final the last year. Oh, why would you tinker too much? Now that Bowman and the Oilers front office have seen them play a lot of hockey, both regular season and playoffs, I think now is when they get busy. So, what do you think of this deal? Leave a comment in the comment box down below, but for now, that is it for this one. Thank you very much for watching. Click like if you like this video. Click subscribe if you really liked it. Tell your friends to check their inbox. There might be an 8-year contract waiting for them.